The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Part 18.
Ah, fish,
he said.
Fish that you were. I'm sorry that I went too far out. I ruined us both. But we have killed many sharks, you and I, and ruined many others. How many did you ever kill, old fish? You do not have that spear on your head for nothing.
He likes to think of the fish and what he could do to a shark if he was swimming free. I should have chopped the bill off to fight them with, he thought, but there was no hatchet, and then there was no knife. But if I had, and could have lasted it to an old butt, what a weapon! Then we might have fought them together. What will you do now if they come in the night? What can you do?
Fight them,
he said.
I'll fight them until I die.
But in the dark now, and no glow showing, and no lights, and only the wind and the steady pull of the sail, he felt that perhaps he was already dead. He put his two hands together and felt the palms. They were not dead, and he could bring the pain of life by simply opening and closing them. He leaned his back against the stern and knew he was not dead. His shoulders told him. I have all those prayers I promised if I caught the fish, he thought, but I am too tired to say them now. I better get the sack and put it over my shoulders. He lay in the stern and steered and watched for the glow to come in the sky. I have half of him, he thought. Maybe I will have the luck to bring the forward half in. I should have some luck. No, he said. You violated your luck when you went too far outside.
Don't be silly,
he said aloud,
and keep awake and steer. You may have much luck yet. I'd like to buy some if there's any place they sell it,
he said. What could I buy it with? He asked himself. Could I buy it with a lost harpoon? And a broken knife? And two bad hands?
You might,
he said.
You tried to buy it with 84 days at sea. They nearly sold it to you too.
I must not think nonsense, he thought. Luck is a thing that comes in many forms, and who can recognize her? I would take some though in any form and pay what they asked. I wish I could see the glow from the lights, he thought. I wish too many things, but that is the thing I wish for now. He tried to settle more comfortably to steer, and from his pain he knew he was not dead. He saw the reflected glare of the light of the city at what must have been around 10 o'clock at night. They were only perceptible at first as the light in the sky before the moon rises. Then they were steady to see across the ocean, which was rough now, with the increasing breeze. He steered inside the glow, and he thought that, now, soon, he must hit the edge of the stream. Now it is over, he thought. They will probably hit me again, but what can a man do against them in the dark without a weapon? He was stiff and sore now, and his wounds and all of the strained part of his body hurt with the cold of the night. I hope I do not have to fight again, he thought. I hope so much I do not have to fight again. But by midnight he fought, and this time he knew the fight was useless. They came in a pack, and he could only see the lines in the water that their fins made, and their phosphorescence as they threw themselves on the fish. He clubbed at heads and heard the jaws chop and the shaking of the skiff as they took hold below. He clubbed desperately at what he could only feel and hear, and he felt something seize the club, and it was gone. He jerked the tiller free from the rudder, and beat and chopped with it. holding it in both hands and driving it down again and again. But they were up to the bow now, and driving in one after the other and together, tearing off the pieces of meat that showed glowing below the sea as they turned to come once more. One came, finally, against the head itself, and he knew that it was over. He swung the tiller across the shark's head, where the jaws were caught in the heaviness of the fish's head, which would not tear. He swung it once and twice and again. He heard the tiller break, and he launched at the shark with the splintered butt. He felt it go in, and knowing it was sharp, he drove it in again. The shark let go and rode away. That was the last shark of the pack that came. There was nothing more for them to eat. The old man could hardly breathe now, and he felt a strange taste in his mouth. It was coppery and sweet, and he was afraid of it for a moment, but there was not much of it. He spat into the ocean and said,
"It's that canal nose, and make a dream you've killed a man."
He knew he was beaten now, finally, and without remedy, and he went back to the stern and found the jagged end of the tiller would fit the slot of the rudder well enough for him to steer. He settled the sack around his shoulders and put the skiff on her course. He sailed lightly now, and he has no thoughts, nor any feelings of any kind. He was past everything now, and he sailed the skiff to make his home port as well, and as intelligently as he could. In the night, sharks hit the carcass as someone might pick up crumbs from the table. The old man paid no attention to them, and did not pay any attention to anything except steering. He only noticed how lightly and well the skiff sailed now. There was no great weight beside her. "She's good," he thought. "She is sound and not harmed in any way, except for the tiller. That is easily replaced." He could feel he was inside the current now, and he could see the lights of the beach colonies along the shore. He knew where he was now, and it was nothing to get home. "The wind is our friend, anyway," he thought. Then he added, "sometimes. And the great sea with our friends and our enemies. And bed," he thought. "Bed is my friend. Just bed," he thought. "Bed will be a great thing. It is easy when you are beaten," he thought. "I never knew how easy it was." "And what beat you?" he thought.
"Nothing,"
he said aloud.
"I went out too far."
When he sailed into the little harbor, the lights of the terrace were out, and he knew everyone was in bed. The breeze had risen steadily and was blowing strongly now. It was quiet in the harbor, though, and he sailed up onto the little patch of shingle below the rocks. There was no one to help him, so he pushed the boat up as far as he could. Then he stepped out and made her fast to a rock. He unstepped the mast and furled the sail and tied it. Then he shouldered the mast and started to climb. It was then he knew the depth of his tiredness. He stopped for a moment and looked back and saw in the reflection from the street lights the great tail of the fish standing up well behind the skiff's stern. He saw the white naked line of his backbone and the dark mass of the head, with the projecting bill and all the nakedness between. He started to climb again, and at the top he fell, and lay for some time with the mast across his shoulder. He tried to get up, but it was too difficult, and he sat there with the mast on his shoulder and looked at the road. A cat passed on the far side, going about its business, and the old man watched it. Then he just watched the road. Finally, he put the mast down and stood up. He picked the mast up and put it on his shoulder and started up the road. He had to sit down 5 times before he reached his shack. Inside the shack, he leans the mast against the wall. In the dark, he found a water bottle and took a drink. Then he lay down on the bed. He put the blanket over his shoulders and then over his back and legs, and he slept face down on the newspapers with his arms out straight and the palms of his hands up. He was asleep when the boy looked in the door in the morning. It was blowing so hard that the drifting boat would not be going out, and the boy had slept late, and then come to the old man's shack as he had come each morning. The boy saw that the old man was breathing, and then he saw the old man's hands, and he started to cry. He went out very quietly to go to bring some coffee, and all the way down the road he was crying. Thank you for watching. This is the end of part 18. To be continued in final part 19. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. See you then.